He is the one.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome along to the wilds of Suffolk. I'm out here yet again doing what I do, walking along beautiful locations such as this, giving you my thoughts and opinions on things that are happening in the world and the public consciousness. If it's your first time here, welcome. Hope you like what I'm doing today. If you're a returning subscriber, all 1,323 I think of you there are today, welcome back. It's a privilege and an honour for me to have so many join me for these walks, so thank you one and all for being here, and I hope you enjoy what I'm doing today. So by the title of this video, I'm entitling this one today, The First Rule of Fight Club. Okay, so the wind is howling here today. I'll give you the weather report obviously before we get started. The wind is howling, the storm is upon us, everything is falling apart. So the wind is howling. I'll try and go through the trees today, so hopefully the trees will soften the wind down a little bit and you'll get the breeze blowing through the trees and the wonderful, as the trees brush against each other, that wonderful noise that trees make as they brush against each other. But otherwise it is gorgeous here today, absolutely gorgeous. About 15 degrees, which for this time of the year in the UK is pretty warm. I mean, you know, that's normally shorts and t-shirts, but I'm still recovering from the flu. You know, I'm going to keep myself covered up, hence the jumper. That, you know, I may be wrong, but it's highly unlikely. Anyway, so let's get into this today. Okay, first rule of Fight Club. What's the first rule of Fight Club? There is no Fight Club, right? Now, when I do these talks, I talk about movies and I talk about things that I see in the world and what messages I take from these and try and convey the message that I'm trying to get through these kind of mediums of talking about movies and, you know, those kind of things. So the reason I'm doing Fight Club today, well, it'll all become apparent as we go through. But first rule of Fight Club, there is no Fight Club. Okay, now I have been talking about a financial calamity for coming up 3 years, and much like everything else I've said over the past 2 or 3 years, I've been told I'm wrong. Obviously, you know, a couple of years ago I was told, you're not an epidemiologist, Chris. You're not a doctor. You're nothing. How could you know anything? Strangely, I knew more than epidemiologists and the doctors and all those science boffins, you know, the science people that went to university and have a bunch of debt to their name that proves how smart they are. When I started talking about, you know, interest and inflation, people said to me, you're not an economist, Chris. You don't know what you're talking about. And obviously those people were, we won't use the wrong word. We'll just say, well, I may be wrong, you know, but it's highly unlikely. So we've got to a point now, I don't know whether anybody's been watching what's happened over the weekend, and it's been building for the last couple of weeks. We had a bank collapse. That's all anybody's talking about right now, is the bank collapse of Silicon Valley Bank, SVB. And, you know, those acronyms come in handy, don't they? So first we had SBF with his bullshit fraudulent exchange called, what the hell was that shit called? Anyway, it doesn't matter, it's garbage, you know what I'm talking about. SBF, Sam Bankman-Fraud. Sam Bankman-Fraud, that guy who was meeting with Gary Gensler of the SEC and having planning meetings with the SEC about crypto. Meanwhile, he was building a fraudulent system. What the hell was that shit called? Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. So he was meeting with the head of the SEC, who was his teacher at MIT, and Gary Gensler's boss was SBF's daughter's. So Gary Gensler's boss, his daughter was the girlfriend of Sam Bankman-Fried. And they were running this crypto scam out of the Caribbean. But he was a wonderful billionaire who drove a Corolla. So so now we've got another acronym for Silicon Valley Bank, that all the big boys in Silicon Valley and the startups and tech startups use to bank through, because none of the big banks would bank crypto companies, right? Except maybe JP Morgan. But then again, JP Morgan also banked Epstein. Yeah, but JP Morgan's 100% above board. Okay. So, JP Morgan also banked with Silicon Valley Bank. So did State Street. So did, yes. So, the reason I bring that up, I'm not just talking out of my ass, but, I've been told I do. The reason I brought that up, and the reason I'm doing this talk today, what was the movie Fight Club about? It was about fighting, right? It wasn't. Fight Club was a movie that was about the average person. We run the world. The average person. We're the guys that cook your food. We're the guys that drive your cars. We're the people that run the world. These people that get driven around by us, or the people that we cook for, or, the people that we serve. We're the actual people that run the world. We're the ones that make everything run. They're just the puppets on the string that do what they're told. Okay? So the idea of Fight Club, the movie, was that it was gathering the average person, the average man, the average woman, the average whatever you identify as, together and making them realize that we've got to fight together to recognize our strength, to take control back from the criminals who are running the show. Okay? Now what happens at the end of Fight Club? They destroy all the servers and the records of all the debt that's been fraudulently created in the banking institutions, blow up and blow it all up, so that we're all back to zero, back to a level playing field. Right? Now, I'm not going to cry myself to sleep over the poor people, these poor people that are building these enslavement systems in Silicon Valley, because they're losing their asses. In fact, I don't know how long you've been following me on this journey for, but I used to ride my bicycle to work, but then my bike gave up the ghost. It was just too much weight. Obviously, I'm a heavy guy. I weigh a lot. Over 100 kilos. What's that? 17 stone, wherever you are in the world. 100 and something kilos I weigh. And bicycles can only take so much punishment. So my bike gave up the ghost, and I haven't had enough money to get another one. But today I came very, very close to having enough money to buy one, because I've been shorting the shit out of the S&P 500. And I was $200 short of getting my top of the range bicycle. But don't worry, it'll happen this week. I'm positive of it. Now, funny thing while we're talking about the S&P 500 and how the stock market works, okay? Now, I'm sure anybody that's been following cryptos or anything like that, when cryptos fall, they fall through the floor sometimes. They can go by half. They could go down by half in a day. Happens. That's what, because it's manipulated by the same people who want to get rid of it, the same banking institutions that haven't got their arms around it yet. They want to short the hell out of crypto, so they do, and they destroy it. They make it, crypto's dead again. 100 times I've heard the same noise. But like the S&P 500, when it's falling, off a cliff, we're all gonna die. The banks are going down. Boo! They pause trading. When the stock's going down like 100 points, they pause trading. They pause trading on the S&P 500 today 4 times. to just gather we've got to get some more money to prop this bullshit up. Quick, find some more money. Get the Fed to print some more money so we can prop up this nonsense. But they don't do the same for crypto. Oh, because crypto is not important, you know. We're systemically important. Now, what happened in 2008 was the derivative debt that was created by mortgage-backed securities, right? Now, I don't know whether you've seen a movie called The Big Short, but The Big Short explained how it worked. So basically what they did was for equity and inclusion, of course, we had to make sure that everybody, even if they couldn't afford it, had the opportunity to buy a house, because the banks had to loan money out because there wasn't enough debt in the system to sustain the bullshit. Well, everything that you see, the whole financial system is based around debt. It's money creation. And the only way the system can keep going is if they create more debt. So they were giving money to anybody, as long as you had a heartbeat. Didn't have to prove your income, you know. Anybody could get a loan, buy a house, even if they couldn't afford to pay it. Now, those loans, this is what probably you don't know, those mortgages are then sold into the market, and they're bundled up as what they call mortgage-backed securities. So it's a solid debt, right? Because those people have promised to pay the money back. Except the people who were getting the loans couldn't afford to pay those loans back, and it was dog shit. There were shitty loans that they knew they weren't going to get paid back, but they were getting bundled into AAA rated by the rating agencies like S&P, Standards & Poor, and Moody's, the rating agencies. So they were rating this absolute dog shit debt as AAA, right? And then when they realised, when the banks who were holding all this garbage debt, as mortgage-backed security debt, that it was completely garbage, and they knew they couldn't get their money back on it, they were playing hot potato with that debt as everything was starting to fall. And the last one, like pass the parcel, the last one holding the dog shit when it all fell apart were the ones that were going to go down the toilet, much like Lehman Brothers and Fannie Mae and, you know, the banks that went down the toilet in 2008. Now, it's all based around this whole creation of money. It's garbage, it's debt, it's fraud. Because the banks, this is what's happened to SVP or whatever, the Silicon Valley Bank, SVP, too many acronyms because I don't want to say all the words because it's... Anyway, so this Silicon Valley Bank they were giving out these risky loans to tech startups because, well, hey, you know, the interest rates are good, we're making bundles of money until the Federal Reserve decides they're going to put the interest rates up, but they're not actually putting the interest rates up, are they? It's all decided by the bond market. So that's a longer story. I don't want to get into it. There's plenty of people that explain it better than I could anyway, but the interest rates are decided by the bond market, and the Federal Reserve at the central banks chase the bond market. Okay? That's government debt. Banks buying the debt. Go and have a look at it if you don't understand it. But anyway, so when they started raising the interest rates, banks that are over leveraged, which means they have none of the depositors' money in their accounts. So when you're talking about how banks work, how they have money to lend, when you deposit money into your account, it's no longer yours. It's on the bank's book. It's on the bank's books as their money. So then, because it's their money, they can lend it out to other people like tech startups, right? Now, the rule was that they had to have 10% of the borrowers, of the depositors' money in the accounts at any one time, okay? 10%. So let's just say, let's keep the numbers round, there's $1 million or £1 million, wherever you are in the world, deposited into Bank A. Let's call it Barclays, okay? So Barclays now got £1 million in their accounts, customers' accounts, okay? Which shows £1 million credit on the bank's books. So they can lend out up to 90% of that. So 900,000 in loans that they can do, okay? Now those loans are showing as a positive in the bank's book because, well, those loans are going to be paid back. with interest. So then they can lend out against that debt another 90%, and they keep on doing it. They keep on doing it, derivative debt based on depositors' money. Okay? Now, what happens is, if you have what they call a run on the banks, now the directors of the bank knew what was coming. They gave themselves bonuses 2 weeks before, or a week before, and they also sold a bunch of shares when they knew everything was going down the pan. So they walked away with all the money. And then the depositors found out and went to go and take their money out of the account. Sorry, close the doors. You can't have any. Right? So all the people who had their money in the accounts got shafted. Now, this is legal, by the way. You got criminals running the show, and they write the laws to make sure that they're covered. Okay? There's no accountability for these people. They're going to do whatever they want to do, and they'll get away with it. And then, when it all goes sideways, what happens? They go to the government. You need to bail us out. We're too big to fail. So then the government writes them a check and says, "Oh, don't worry. We'll make sure the depositors get their money." And who are the depositors? State Street, JP Morgan. Yeah, so they don't lose. But who picks up the tab? We do. So the government pays it. Where does the government get the money from? Taxes. So the government debt has now been increased, which means they're going to raise taxes on you to pay for that debt, for the banks failing again because of their risky bullshit they're doing. Fraudulent way of making money, and they get away with it yet again, and the people just go, "Oh well, that's just the way it is." So that's what's happened with Silicon Valley Bank. There was a run on the bank, and all the other banking and financial institutions that were banking there, like JP Morgan, who were banking Epstein, by the way, after he was a convicted paedophile, knowing he was a convicted paedophile, still banked him. Much like a lot of the Swiss banks still bank drug cartels and paedophiles and child traffickers. They've got no morals, they've got no scruples, because hey, we're independent, we're neutral over here in Switzerland. We're neutral, so we're not, we don't have to be concerned with all that political nonsense, because we're completely neutral. We don't mind if people are paedophiles or human traffickers or drug lords, or it doesn't matter. So, as usual, the criminals are getting away with skinning the public again, but that contagion and spread to other banks, because other banks bank with the likes of Silicon Valley Bank. Now, what you need to understand is how this works. Okay, how did this all start? How did they get to this point where they had a run on the banks, where the depositors got wind of it? Because Moody's, one of the rating agencies, downgraded the bank, even though a month before Jim Cramer was on television saying, "Oh, Silicon Valley Bank's great investment," and then it goes belly up, goes down the toilet. But then what happens is you have the big players like JP Morgan and State Street, and the big players, they come and gobble it up for pennies on the dollar. It's a consolidation of power. So basically what happens is you want to destroy the crypto industry, destroy the banks that bank them, like Silicon Valley banks who fund the startups. Genius. Now, what you need to understand, the whole bigger picture of what's going on here, is that the incumbents, which is the tier one banks, the State Streets, the tier one banks, this is the top of the ladder, the organisations that run what we currently use as our money transfer system around the world, called SWIFT. They're the tier one banks whose money is involved in that money transfer around the world, SWIFT. Okay, now if crypto was to be implemented, for instance, then those big players wouldn't be able to charge to move money around the world that they do now, okay? Because you can send crypto from point A to point B to anyone, anywhere in the world, in any currency, in seconds for free. What does that mean to the big banks who charge to move money around the world every single day? You know, the SWIFT, 5 or 6 trillion moves through SWIFT a day, and they're being charged for every penny that moves through it. They're charging people like me, people like you, to move money around the world because it's our money, it's our system, right? Now, if you have a system that is going to take away that free money for them, what do? Nothing. They do nothing. They create nothing. They create fraud, and they create systems where they can put people into compromising positions through drugs, through sex with minors, Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell. They bank those people, by the way, just in case I haven't said it already 3 times already. And they compromise these people in the upper echelons of the banking system and governments. Now, they don't want to lose their power and their grip over the creation of money. Of course, because if they lose their grip over the creation of money, they lose everything. So how do you maintain your grip on a new technology, emergent technology, that is going to eat your lunch and take away everything you own? Well, first you try and destroy it. Well, first you ignore it and say, that's nothing. Doesn't mean anything, it's garbage. Or what did Warren Buffett call it? Dog shit squared. Yeah? How do you destroy that? Well, first you ignore it, or you badmouth it, you try and short it, you buy up all the coins you can and then dump them all on the market to try and destroy it. Oh, that's it, that's gone this time. You start rumors, you short the market, you do everything in your power to try and destroy it. When that's not working, and the technology is moving forward anyway, and you realize, oh shit, we're in real trouble here, then you try and buy as much as you can with all the fake bullshit money. And at the same time trying to buy as much gold and silver as you possibly can, because that's real money. So they print all this fake money and then go and buy real world assets with it, or steal them from the public who can't afford to pay for their assets because their jobs are being taken away by the criminals who are destroying the system. Okay? Then what you do, failing all that, you destroy the banking institutions that are banking these people, or not banking them, so that they have to go and bank with the big boys, so that they can get their arms around the whole industry, so it has to go through them. Ethereum, anyone? Ethereum, anyone? Who created Ethereum? Who were the early investors in Ethereum? Who was there, the VC investors? Who was there before anybody? Ask that question, and then ask why the fees are so high, the gas fees on Ethereum to move things around within Ethereum. It's the same banking institutions that run the system now that want you to be able to pay for every penny you move through the system. Okay? Oh, but I'm crazy. What do I know? Right? Now, what I want you all to understand is what is happening is a power play. They want to own the market, but in order to swap to a new system, they have to destroy the current one. Okay, now the point of vulnerability is at the destruction of that system, that point of destruction, which is happening right in front of your eyes. What happens in 2 days? 13th of March today. What's 2 days is the 15th of March? What's that? The Ides of March. If you don't know what that is, go and look it up. Now, we are in the process of this system being destroyed. Now, Sun Tzu, the art of war, never interrupt an enemy while they're in the process of destroying themselves. Look at what's going on in the world. We have war, famine, we have illegal border crossings, we have just complete breakdown of society. Right? People are losing their fucking minds. They are. They're losing it. Because they don't understand. And I've been told, you don't understand, Chris. You know, I had someone send me a What is that? I had someone send me a message saying, yes, you're cherry picking the information you look at from these movies. You what do they call it? It's confirmation by using confirmation bias. Confirmation bias, I was told. And you're just cherry picking the information to make your argument sound right. I don't know, there's a lot of you have been on this journey with me for a long time. Is my information that I've been saying for 2.5 years, has it been mostly correct? Never on the dates. Let's be clear about that. Never when I say a date, is it on that date, is it? Ever. But, been pretty accurate so far, right? It's confirmation bias. You're not an epidemiologist, Chris. You're not an economist, Chris. Now, we're in the process of this thing falling over. And it has to, okay? Print more money, put it into the system, destroy the currency. All of them, because they're all backed by nothing. Fiat money, fiat, which is backed by nothing. It's all paper contracts. It's trust. It's all based on trust. Now, if everybody decided they wanted their money, but it's not their money if it's in the bank's accounts, right? If everybody decided they were going to go and get their money out of the accounts, you couldn't do it. It would create what they call a bank run. You're not even allowed to talk about it because talking about it means you're trying to promote one. And I'm not promoting one at all. I'm not trying to promote a bank run, but I'm telling you what's happening. This is what's happening because people are losing confidence in the system. Now, I can only tell you what I've done. I've lost so much confidence in the system. Today, I made my first purchase of bullion through my company account so that I'm not holding cash in my company account. My company account. That bullion is now as part of my treasury of the company because I don't trust the cash anymore. I don't trust the banks to look after my money. I'll look after my own, thank you. Now, when I refer to the first rule of Fight Club, what's Fight Club? Fight Club, we are Fight Club. We are starting to realize our own power in this situation as it plays out. As they're destroying their money and people lose confidence, the fight and the real power comes from us. We are the controlling element here. So if you lose confidence in the money, then what are you going to do? I can't tell you what to do. I'm not an economist. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm certainly not your financial advisor. I'm walking around in a forest. I've got a beat up old Honda. I've got no money. So don't listen to what I have to say. I still work ridiculous hours just to keep my nose above the waterline, just to pay the bills. Right? So don't take my word for it. Don't listen to a word that I say. You've got to make up your own decisions about how you're going to treat things and what you see in the world, because at the end of the day, it's on you. And if you're relying on, oh, don't worry, the money in my bank account is insured, by whom? And do you trust those entities? Do you trust the banks? Do you trust the government to ensure that your money will be there should the bank go down? And even if they do, how long is it going to be between when the bank goes down and when you get your money back? And are you going to get all of it back? Because if you have a look at the fine print in your bank account, I think you'll find in there's something called bail-in, where the banks can legally take money from your account to shore up the bank. So, Fight Club. If the banking system is in trouble and the only way that it can be bailed out is from the government, do you trust your government? Do you trust your bank? If you do, then go about your day, skip through the forest, whistle away while you do so. Everything's fine as everything's burning in the background. The choice now is for you to decide what is important to you and how you're going to tackle it. I'm growing my own food Wednesday. I'm going to plant the first lot of my plants in the allotment and in my back garden, in my veggie patch. My chickens are spitting eggs out of their backsides at a record pace. On Telegram, I posted this picture of this egg that came out of one of my chickens yesterday. I heard her laying it. I'm not surprised. It was massive. Things are collapsing. The financial system will collapse because it's piled under the weight of an enormous amount of debt that's getting added to every single day, bailing out banks, buying more weapons for war that no one wants to be in. And it's all going to be on you. You're going to have to bear the brunt of it, and your children are going to have to be paying their taxes back for the rest of their lives at a record pace while there's no jobs available. Are they going to do that out of their universal basic income that's going to come through a CBDC? Create the problem, people react. Don't worry, we've got the solution. Central bank digital currency. Everyone gets some free money. You get some money. You get some money. You get some money. We all get some money. But it was not real money. So, what are you going to do? Are you ready to stand and fight your ground? I'm not talking about going and being violent, not talking about any of that. Are you going to stand your ground and fight back against what's going on? Or are you just going to be a little slave? I was born a slave, as we all were. I don't intend on dying one. I'm standing my ground and I'm fighting against the system. Your choice to decide, do you want to finally fight? Are you going to be part of the fight club? Or are you going to take whatever's given to you, or if there's anything left to give? So what's the first rule of Fight Club? And yes, the spelling is correct. For those of you who noticed there might be a spelling error in the title, it's not a spelling error. Go and look at the posts. Understand what you're looking at. Understand we've been warned for years about what's coming. One particular post in particular said, scare event necessary. Your family is safe. Time to decide. Fight Club. There is no Fight Club. All right. All that said, you can look at what's happening in the world and be scared by it, or you can look at what's happening in the world and realize this is all planned. If it wasn't planned, I wouldn't have known. So if I know, you know, time to decide. So go out into the world. You can change the world with the way that you think, the way that you act, the way that you talk, the messages you share, the information you share, what you choose to look at. You can change the world through what you're focusing your energy on. So go and do that. Look after yourself, look after each other, and the world will be a better place if we all do that. Take care of yourself, and I look forward to seeing you real soon. Ciao for now.